Plaintiff Lauren Williams says from the day she started dating the defendant, she knew he was a drunk. But he didn't become controlling or abusive until later in their relationship. Lauren claims the defendant assaulted her more than once, and she's suing him today for damaged property. Defendant Ryan Brucker admits that he and Lauren had heated arguments, but insists he never laid his hands on her and claims she is the one who was violent and destructive. Ryan says he only put Lauren's property out after she cheated, and he denies damaging anything.
Start with you.
Your Honor, I dated the defendant, and it didn't take me long to realize he was a controlling, abusive alcoholic.
When did you start dating him?
In November of 2012.
How long had you known him? Or
Not very long. I met him that.
When did he become all of that?
He wasn't very controlling or abusive at the beginning. I knew he was a drunk from the night I met him. He told me. He was very honest.
Own up to it.
He told you
Hey,
time you met him that he was a drunk.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that excited you? Or attracted you at the very least?
No, I was 17 and naive. And he was
that had nothing to do with naive. Someone tells you, I'm a crackhead.
No, yes, that's true.
Well, I'm a drunk. That doesn't have anything to do with naive. You tell a 7-year-old that, and they're gonna walk away. But instead, you stayed with him, and you began to see the controlling, what month and year?
Probably in the beginning of 2013.
All right. What was he doing?
He smashed 2 of my phones. He would not let me go to see my family or my friends. I was not allowed to have a Facebook. He's laid his hands on me multiple times, including laying me down on the floor and choking me until our roommate had to pull him off of me.
That never happened,
Multiple as in, can you give me an estimate?
About 2 or 3 times. He has threatened to pull me down the stairs by my hair. He spit in my face and said, yes, that just happened, B-word.
Do you ever prosecute him? Why not? You hadn't known him but a couple of months, so it wasn't like you were so in love that you couldn't get away, that emotionally you couldn't break away. A lot of the women who stay, that's because emotionally it's too difficult to break away because of living circumstances, children. What was your excuse, ma'am, for staying with a man who was beating you multiple times within 90 days?
We did. After a while, we began staying together. I technically lived at his apartment. I would go to her house once every 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, so you don't want to answer that. Go ahead. What else you want me to know you say? You were going to his apartment and you all were staying together?
We lived together for the most part.
Within how long?
Maybe between 4 months is when I started all my things were there. All of my items were at his place.
And that's when he started showing his control?
Yes.
You had nowhere else to go after that?
No, Your Honor, I didn't.
You didn't have parents?
No, both my parents in the military, and neither of them live in state.
Where were you staying before you moved in with him?
My Aunt Katie's house.
You couldn't go back?
No, Your Honor.
Why?
Well, her husband and her share a 2-bedroom house with her kids, and she had her brother staying there also. And
When
it was a very cramped
when you were
space.
there?
Yes.
And you don't think if you told her, this man is beating me, she would have let you come back? Would you? Ma'am? State your name.
Catherine Carmack.
All right. Would you have allowed her to come back if she'd have told you the man was beating her?
I definitely would have.
All right. That's all we want to know. Go ahead, sir. You'll give me some background. I just want to make that clear because, you know, I don't want women who are watching to think that they're stuck, particularly if someone says they will let them stay with them.
He's laid his hands on me multiple times, including laying me down on the floor and choking me until our roommate had to pull him off of me.
That never happened.
Plaintiff Lauren Williams dated the defendant, and she claims he was abusive and would choke and slap her.
You tell me about the domestic violence that she's alleging you committed against her.
I never once laid my hands on her in the apartment.
He's lying.
She never technically moved in. She had a few belongings at my house. It was a fight to get her to go home sometimes, so I just let it go.
Not
a fight, not a violent fight, you know, argument. Right, you know, hey, I want you to leave. screw you, all this, throwing stuff. She's been destructive before in the past, broken many of my items.
Why?
Just arguments.
Oh, okay. Arguments, and she would turn violent.
Yeah.
All right, against property.
Yeah.
All right.
Property.
And
It was never really physical till we do have one incident. There was a police report though. And
when was that?
This would be on the 15th, Father's Day, 2014.
So you do acknowledge you all got violent then, and she called the police?
No, she claimed that I got violent, and this is the first and only time that apparently, since I'm so violent, she's called the police and claimed that I hit her. And I have the report here and everything, and it even says that she didn't have a mark on her or anything.
Where did she allege you hit her?
Face.
And the police say she didn't have a mark. You want to underline that part?
Let's see.
Ma'am, let's get to the damaged property you're suing him for. What happened?
We broke up before Father's Day, and I had told him, I told him that I would come to get my things, and he had messaged me and told me that my things were in a dumpster. I went to the dumpster at his work, and I looked in the dumpster, just peeked over it, and I could clearly see that none of my belongings were in there. And so I texted him and said, I'm coming to your house to get my belongings. That's all I want. I do not want any confrontation. I just want my belongings, and then I will walk away. I will never call you. I will never talk to you. You'll never have to see me. And when I showed up, I stood on the sidewalk because I know he'd find a reason to lay his hands on me, because he has before.
On this day, what did he do to you physically?
When I was standing on the sidewalk, he walked up to me and he slapped me in my face, and then he pushed me, and when I stumbled to get my balance.
Why don't you think there was a bruise on your face?
Because it was just a slap.
I know slap bruises that you get handprints. I remember my school teacher smacked me, and I had a handprint on my face. And then when my mother came up to the school and smacked her, she had a handprint on her face. All right, so we'll leave that alone, ma'am. All right, now the damaged property, sir, how do you want to respond to that?
Well, the damaged property, I actually called her multiple times. She said we broke up before that. She's lying about that. I actually have proof of her cheating on me, Facebook messages and a picture that they sent me.
All right.
In between there, saying, bam, that just happened with a picture. You know, we were arguing a little bit before.
What does this show?
That one's horrible. It shows them two standing next to each other, and if you read afterwards, yeah.
I don't see anything. You're talking about, yeah. Oh, okay.
I mean, it's a little fuzzy. It's a little fuzzy.
The guy in the green?
There. Yes, sir.
She's all hugged up with the guy in the green.
Yeah, so
I
go off.
you think it's cool to hang on dudes when I'm not around? It is over. I'll drop your S off at Katie's.
I didn't respond to any of those messages.
I also called her multiple times in between there trying to get her to
admit to taking her things.
And in the police report, he admits.
Ma'am. So what do you say to that?
So I placed them in the dumpster just because they sent me that picture, you know. At that time, I was very mad. You know, I figured we might be able to work things out. Apparently not. She's already.
What happened to her things after that?
I placed them in the dumpster and I left work. So.
All right. So.
I mean, I went back later.
Why don't you think you would be responsible?
I mean, I know I'm responsible.
Nothing would have happened had you not put her things in the dumpster.
I mean, I wouldn't have put it in the dumpster if they never sent me the picture. As you can see, I said I'd drop it off at Katie's.
Okay.
So they antagonized me first.
So your defense to having her things destroyed is she cheated on you. All right. That's no legal defense. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I ain't got nothing to say to her. I'm happy I ain't never got to see her again. Good enough for me.
There's no hard feelings between this man and I. I just hope we can live our lives separately.